Welcome back to Coin Lady channel, where you can always find the latest and most interesting XRP-related stories. CBDCs are the topic of this video. United States officials have assured us that they have no plans to launch their own digital currency backed by the country's central bank anytime soon. One estimate, however, suggests that within the next 90 days, the United States could have a digital currency issued by its central bank. I want to reveal who said it in this video since the source is actually quite shocking. I'd also like to talk about a paper Ripple published today. It explains their plans for the future of CBDCs and how XRP is integral to the CBCS. The long-held belief that Ripple's CBDC offerings wouldn't accept XRP is thus dispelled. It is the furthest thing from the truth. And I'm going to show you why. Observe this immediately. Finally, at the end of the video, I'd like to show you some recently released footage of Jeremy Hogan. And he's the one breaking down the current state of the Ripple SEC case, whether or not we'll go to trial, and whether or not we'll keep fighting to the bitter end. You should definitely watch the whole thing. So, let's talk about something that absolutely floored me when I first saw it at the start of this movie. I was caught off guard by this. In fact, this was reported by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I couldn't help but speculate that he might be the son of the late President John F. Kennedy. While doing some research on Google, I came across the surname. It specifically refers to a nephew. To my surprise, however, I learned that this man is actually a presidential candidate immediately after reading this article. This report was completely unexpected. And this information has only become public in the past few minutes. This means I need to learn a lot more about this individual. He did, however, just release a statement announcing that the Federal Reserve will introduce a CBDC for interbank settlement alongside the FedNow service, which will launch this summer. This is something that has caught me by surprise. Because the Federal Reserve has been rumored to be introducing a central bank digital currency in 2 to 3 years. If we are to believe what we have learned from the media thus far, assuming the data is correct, it's possible that what's happening is actually what it seems to be. But it seems he has at least one trustworthy source. Yet it appears like the Federal Reserve will introduce a back-end CBDC for what amounts to clearing between banks, and then try to conceal the fact that it is a central bank digital currency by claiming that it doesn't deal with the general public. So, yeah, it's probably safe to say that we have a ways to go before we reach that point. The Federal Reserve may be moving much more quickly than expected toward creating a central bank digital currency. I've already mentioned that the beginning won't happen until the end. But if this is true and this is actually happening, progress is being made much more rapidly than most people expected. For months, similar forecasts have been made by conspiracy theorists. We did, to some extent, face a banking crisis as predicted. Many things, they said, would have to go digital because of the 1984 plague. And at this time, a CBDC seems to be on the horizon. Because progress is being made in time periods much more rapidly than I had anticipated. This could very well throw the game off. The suddenness would be if this actually happened in July, which would indicate that we are much closer than I had ever imagined to this profound change in our financial system, despite the fact that people often claim that events unfold gradually rather than suddenly. We've been using the same antiquated legacy technology for banking transactions for the past 60 to 70 years, so this represents a significant advancement over the status quo. I also know that many of you are wondering what role Ripple and XRP play in all of this. Does this mean we no longer need them? Will the Federal Reserve CBDC completely phase out this system? The correct response is emphatically not at all. The only outcomes are Ripple and XRP. In addition, it is helping my bullish thesis come true much faster than I ever thought possible. Once these improvements get underway, since the government can't be expected to handle everything, we will transition to an electronic banking system. The plan is to. This allows for the development of companies like Ripple in the tech sector, the tokenization of complex national systems, and direct communication between nations and their CBDCs. And the United States government will do nothing to implement any of it. Never happens. When the internet first emerged and businesses began creating web pages, the United States government began constructing its own internet infrastructure. However, Since not all of it was developed by the government, we can expect to see the same results as when it was first introduced. We have been fighting the government tooth and nail to facilitate this adoption up until this point. However, major institutions in the United States have not been adopting it. Due in large part to this policy shift, Ripple and XRP are poised to become mainstream payment methods. Ripple is far and away the largest cryptocurrency company in the world. Companies like Ripple, with headquarters in the United States, will be crucial if the country is to maintain its financial competitiveness in the future. The transfer of funds between CBDCs around the world is likely to be facilitated in large part by Ripple. But I think the Federal Reserve, a CBDC, and payments to it were still 5 years away at that point. What would happen to our economic system if this actually occurred within the next few months is anyone's guess. And I've never been the type to believe that simply turning a knob made a difference. However, that is possibly the case. Assume, for the sake of argument, that the Federal Reserve overnight activated a CBDC for back-end settlement. Any number of potential improvements to this system could be around the corner. After all, if this turns out to be true, it will drastically change everything. This only adds to the weight of evidence supporting my theory that a lot of what we see has been crafted and acted out to lead us here and facilitate this shift. If this is true, it would cause me to rethink the SEC case from the ground up. You should give this possibility serious thought. This is happening right before the launch. Why does it seem like every coin on the market today is cloudy? The Federal Reserve claims that in the event that the SEC's lawsuit against XRP is successful, the cryptocurrency will require the services of a company like Ripple in order to make global CBDC transfers possible. This is so out there that I'm still trying to make sense of a lot of it for myself. I mean, you have no idea how surprised I'm by this. How this develops remains to be seen. But I'd like to change topics and discuss some fascinating new information that has recently come to light. Because Ripple will actually use sidechains on the XRP ledger to set up CBDCs and private blockchains. Since the past couple of months, members of our own community haven't raised the red flag that the private ledgers being built by CBD from Ripple have nothing to do with the public XRP. If you've been following my channel, you know that I've been resisting the story's central premise. I've always insisted that Ripple won't introduce any CBDCs that aren't integrated with the XRP blockchain. Holy crap, that's insane. That's something they'll definitely do. Given that it controls 50 billion XRP at present, Ripple is committed to maximizing the ledger's adoption and value. They, of course, want to maximize their financial gain. Furthermore, Ripple has just made public its intention to launch CBDCs on the public XRP ledger. We're getting close to the amendment that will allow for this to happen. Meanwhile, reports have surfaced that the United States is gearing up to launch CBDC construction. The SEC's Ripple case could also be resolved at any time. Now normally I wouldn't stop to think about how perfectly timed everything is. But these are the facts, and you simply cannot deny them. It's incredible how quickly things are coming together. And if the SEC complaint against Ripple is upheld, Ripple will make a change that will allow them to issue public CBDCs with XRP ledger entries. The United States is also introducing a digital currency issued by a central bank, which is sure to fuel widespread speculation about how carefully the events of the past few years have been orchestrated to pave the way for this shift. To figure out what's going on, I feel like I need to take a break from this. Over the next few days, I need to put in a lot of study time. This comes as a complete surprise. My optimistic stance has been completely reworked due to my bullish stance is strengthened by this evidence. To me, it still seems like a long shot that any of this will actually happen. But it looks like we may not be far away at all. The reliability of the reporting is obviously crucial. The only thing to do is wait and see, I suppose. Naturally, no one at the Federal Reserve will come out and say, "Oh yeah, we just didn't tell you." In the coming months, as we prepare to officially launch the CBDC, we will need to keep an eye on this. However, if this is indeed the case, then brace yourself for the arrival of some untamed creatures. To start off one of Aisha's videos, Jeremy Hogan gives an update on the Ripple SEC lawsuit. I'd like him to think about this from every angle. The first half of this video is a bit of a ramble, that much is obvious. So, I'm going to ask Jeremy to delete this video. I hope you did because I gave it my all. Please read this carefully. I think Jeremy Hogan did a great job with this video, right? Accordingly, you were correct in your first statement, as settlement cannot be appealed. The settlement is flawed, of course, because it won't affect any future litigation in this area. Right. Thus, the SEC's next lawsuit against another cryptocurrency company would not be affected by a settlement between Ripple and the SEC. A settlement between the SEC and Ripple is bad for the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, but good for Ripple. Remember that the SEC has been successful in every previous lawsuit it has brought against these companies. While the library put up a fight, they didn't have nearly enough money to take on the SEC, while Ripple spent $100 million doing so. And the evidence for Ripple is stronger than it is for the vast majority of cryptocurrency initiatives. With the Ripple case, the SEC's ability to make some of the arguments it has been making in the past could be rendered moot, so this is the case where the SEC could be present. Therefore, if Ripple settles, all of that cryptocurrency investment money will be lost. They would have to act in a way that benefits the business now. On the other hand, that won't change anything for the other. Concerning cryptography in general, in the event of a favorable ruling from the judge, the SEC, in my opinion, will not file an appeal. And I say that because if the case goes up to the Second Circuit and the appellate court rules against the SEC, there will be no benefit to appealing. This establishes a precedent with legal weight. The SEC is also in a bind with respect to any future litigation efforts. So, if I were the SEC, and I was 90% certain of anything, I'd do this. As a result, they will be unable to file an appeal. Simply put, they don't want to have to backtrack on their plan to regulate the cryptocurrency industry. For this reason, I believe that the only way we will see the Ripple test implemented is if Ripple loses at the trial court level and appeals that decision to the Second Circuit. And they're hoping the Second Circuit will say no, replacing the Howey test with something like the Ripple test. Also, we need an investment agreement to call it a deal. That's how it would function, then. If the judge's ruling comes out in, say, April or May of this year, the Second Circuit wouldn't hear the appeal until 2019. 2 or 3 more years would pass if it went all the way to the US Supreme Court to formally replace the Howey test. It's all over today. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you later, bye.